Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be another episode of rebuilding and piecing together this 1998 3000GT Vr4. We are going to be doing some work today on the brakes as well as the wheels. We're going to be getting some new tires thrown on. Currently, we are running the stock Vr4 wheels, which are a 18 by 8 inch wheel. We are going to be keeping and reusing the stock Vr4 wheels because they look freaking sweet and they're one of the nicer wheels to actually come out on a car from the 90s. I'll show you the tires that we're going to be throwing on. These are the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's in size 245/40/18. That's going to be the stock size for these Vr4 wheels, which is a great size. And the Pilot, anything Michelin is going to be an awesome tire. But we went with the all seasons. We're going to start by getting this car jacked up in the rear. We'll get the tires taken off as well as the rotors, which I'm probably also going to see if I can get the rotors all resurfaced. Wheels as well as the rotors off of the car. I just cleaned up all the rotors just to kind of check them out and inspect them, the surfaces on these, and I was going to get these resurfaced just to clean them up. However, after just simply cleaning them up and kind of checking them out, feeling for ridges, putting your fingernail across it, other than some surface rust on this, all in all, they're really not too bad, and I don't care to spend money or replace them if these are still fine. We still have good working parts. That's what it looks like. Other than refreshing this up with some new brake pads, since I don't have the old ones anymore, we will do that. But I think that you run a new set of pads on these, it should actually clean up these surfaces pretty nicely. And I also did find one slight bend on one of the wheels right there. Not super significant, but it is a little bit noticeable depending on the angle you're looking at. I'm gonna get these wheel wells painted up while I have the wheels off, and I'm working on getting the tires all mounted up. You can see all this faded out white area in there. It definitely needs to be restored and cleaned up. I already did power wash and brush all this, so this should have a pretty clean surface to stick to. I'm gonna remove this strut and get this out of the way, so that way we can get back behind it and get kind of all the way up into that strut bucket where that sits. So that's what I'm gonna work on next, and then we can go ahead and kind of mask and tape off some of the stuff so I don't get any of this rubberized undercoat on the paint of the car. I just worked on kind of taping everything off in the wheel well that I want taped off. And then for some of these sections in here, we'll just take a piece of cardboard and kind of paint while I'm moving around for any of the areas I don't want to get overspray on. We are set to go ahead and spray these up with the Raptor rubberized undercoating. This is the same stuff that I used on the front wheel wells, and it seems like it's pretty cool and good stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and shoot these up real quick. I just got my tires mounted up at the tire shop, and let me show you just why I try to do all the work that I can myself. So if we take a look at the tires, obviously they're mounted on. Everything looks decent. However, they were not able to balance any of these tires because of the center caps. They could not remove these and get these out. They ended up trying to remove them, and they completely cracked and obliterated two of them. So that one right there is broken. as well as this one right over here. Same story. They tried to pound these out. I don't know why. There's a circlip on the back side that you need to remove the clip in order to get them out, and then they just push right out. This is something I would expect a tire shop to know how to remove a hubcap. We're gonna have to go ahead, remove all the clips from these. I'm going to salvage the 2 hubcaps that we have, and then we will need to find replacements for the other ones that are completely broke. And we're gonna have to take these back in to go finish and get balanced up so we can actually ride these around properly. This is extremely frustrating, being that this is the first time I've had somebody else touch something on this car and have some work done, and already we are experiencing some damage and some delays. I tried to move forward, and now we're moving 2 steps backward because we need to figure out this hubcap situation. The good news is that hopefully by the end of this, I don't believe they're going to be charging me for any of the mounting or balancing, so we get a free service, but that leaves me in the spot of finding and locating one of these hubcaps. And if you know anything, I'm trying to keep and maintain all of the parts that I can on this car and kind of save what we have, because this is the original OEM stuff. It's good quality stuff. And if you've looked up these hubcaps for the VR4, I just briefly did, these are actually pretty dang pricey. It looks like I found one used one on eBay going for right around $40, give or take. So multiply that times 2, it's probably going to be somewhere in the area of around 80 bucks or so just to pick up 2 of these center caps, just because of the negligence of somebody that did not know what they're doing. To remove the center cap, you'll just come on the backside and you will see backside of the wheel, and you're going to see down in there that there is a clip that goes all the way around the outside, just a little metal clip. You're going to find where there's a gap, which is right here in this section. It's a little bit smaller than the other 2 big wide gaps. This is where you're going to take either a flathead or some snap ring pliers, which will probably work best, some internal ones. You'll come right there, feed that on both sides of this, and you'll pinch, and you'll see that little clip moves. So once this gets raised up over the ledge, then you'll just need to kind of do the same thing to the other side to pull this section out, and it comes out easy, no problem at all. Once this is out, then we can just tap it out from the front. That's it. There you go. Salvaged center cap. 2 on the left are still good. 2 on the right, tatered. And to think that I'm going to need to take this car in for an alignment to have somebody do that procedure on this car with all the custom suspension work that we need. Holy shit. Wheel wells are all painted up and dried. They turned out pretty dang good. Nice, painted, coated. Should be protected a little bit better. So this is good to go. So now what are we on to next? We're going to be doing the brakes, getting all the brake work hopefully almost all the way completed, as well as getting these wheel bearings knocked out for the front of this car where we do have quite a bit of play. So this is a great time to do all of this stuff. Let me go ahead. We do need to unbox a couple of these packages and see what we have inside of them, and I'll show you what we're going to be running for the brake setup. So laid out in front of us, what we have is pretty much are some awesome parts for our braking system. We have the beautiful calipers that I powder coated in Lollipop Red. If you haven't watched that video, I did make an actually pretty decent video on how to go about powder coating your own stuff at home. And these calipers turned out actually pretty decent. I will post it down in the description. So we're going to be using those in combination with the stock blank rotors that came on the car. They seem to be smooth enough. And for the pads, this company is called EBC. They're coming out with some pretty good quality stuff, and these seem to be one of the better reviews for pads you can run on these cars. And specifically, these are the yellow stuff pads, which are the more favored of the options. This is going to be the part number right there. So that takes care of the front. And then if we move on to the rears, same thing, stock VR4 calipers, stock rotors we are using, the blanks again. We are going to upgrade, you can see the Stoptech packaging right there. We are going to upgrade the rear brake lines. This is what this kit is for. I am waiting for the brake pads for the rear to come in. I ordered a different brand on those. I went with Hawk, who also makes some pretty good pads. I kind of want to do a compare of the two pads to see what one I like better. And then additionally, we do have some new hubs for the front. And these are from TRQ. There's going to be the part number for both of those. So that's pretty much the rundown of all the parts. Now it's just going to be a disassembly and tear down. We just need to pull out the existing wheel bearings from the hubs. We'll see how difficult this is and if we run into any issues. Start with that big axle nut right there. It's a 32 millimeter. We got it on an impact. We'll zip this off. Normally there is a cotter pin in here, but mine's missing it right now, so I'll need to get one and put it on when I go to reinstall. Next up, we're just going to remove the shielding just to get this out of the way. It's really quick and easy, just 3 10 millimeter bolts, one there, and then one on the bottom side underneath down there. Now we need to get to the 4 main bolts on the back side that I told you are holding in the hub. We got one right there, 2 right there, and then the other 2 on the other side, one right there, and then lastly the one on the bottom side right back there where my finger is. The trick is that I found we're going to use a box end wrench. These are all 17 millimeters, and we're going to need to get this wrench on these bolts. Now it might be a little bit hard to see. I can't get that box end on because this axle is in the way, this round part. So what we need to do is just push this axle in just a little bit to give us some room. So we'll just push this in just like so, and that should give you enough room to get on the box end of your wrench. Just like so. So now we have the wrench on, we can go ahead and break these loose. And you'll see every time that I do need to pull the wrench back off, readjust it, move to a different bolt, you will need to push this in correspondingly to give yourself that little bit of room that pushing that back. Once all of those bolts in there are broken loose, we can go ahead and, you just saw me working it a little bit with the open end, getting it a little bit looser, so that way hopefully we can get all these to a point where they're finger loose and we can get these just by hand. That's kind of the idea of what I'm doing right now. Looks like we'll have enough room if we go on the back side with just pushing in our axle, and we can just loosely get all these bolts out. So you can see there's our bolt right there. We'll get the remainder of these 3 bolts out. 4 bolts are out, they're sitting right there, just tapping around the side. Oh yeah. There we go. Make sure you clean everything up. I hit this with some brake clean, a towel. We want to wipe this face surface that the bearing hub sets on, as well as this whole internal section in there, and just the end of this axle shaft. Make sure that all this stuff is nice and clean. We're going to start off by laying on just a thin coat of some anti-seize. I like to use this stuff for future parts. If you ever need to take this section off, let's say, hopefully this will not be seized on and incredibly hard to get off. So we're just going to put a thin coating around the outside of the section where that hub mates. Then we're also going to take the bearing, also going to get this all the way around, additionally with a little bit of anti-seize. Then we're also going to take just a little bit of all-purpose grease, nothing fancy. Just take a little dab with our finger, and we're going to put it on the splines of the axle shaft right there. That'll allow this to slip into that hub much easier, and also make disassembly easier in the future too as well. We can go ahead and install the hub onto the assembly, and it should only mate up one way. All right, should slide right in. Then we'll go on to the bolt holes, try to get it lined up. Looks like we are in alignment. We'll go ahead and feed those bolts into the back, and that's also going to suck this into that and tighten everything up. Similar to tightening up a tire, you're going to want to alternate those bolts. Don't just get one all the way tight. Hit one corner, hit the other corner, hit another corner, slowly fasten it down around. If you're wondering the torque spec on these 4 bolts, I actually have no clue. I looked it up. I was not able to find it. We'll just feed the axle shaft all the way in, make sure it's seated. We'll push it through. And looks like it's good right there. And then we can throw on our axle nut with the washer, and we'll tighten this down, the impact. This does have a torque spec too, but I've always just impacted these on and haven't had an issue. That should complete the wheel bearing hub install. I did also throw the dust cover tray back on. Now, the one thing I did notice is when I tightened up this axle nut, it did seem to affect the resistance on this. This does seem like it is pretty dang hard to turn. I had to throw a wheel on this in order to get it to turn over, which it's able to do it with the wheel on, but there is quite a bit of resistance. I don't know, maybe you guys might know better in the comments. Hit me up if this should be able to spin freely. This is also new. It's not broken in. There probably is a break-in period on these. I know those bearings inside of this hub are all internal. With that completed, we can go ahead and install and finish up all of our brakes that we have and all the situation going on over there. So let's continue on with getting these brakes done and actually see. This is the exciting part that I am actually looking forward to see what this is going to look like, this red inside of this wheel well. Taking a look at the brakes, they did come with some supplied shims, and it looks like you have to tape these on. There's a little sticker. You'll have to peel this brown section off and reveal the sticky side, and then that sticky side will get taped to the back side of this, and these holes need to be aligned up at the top, right there and there, because this is where some dowel pins are going to be going through. Now, I've always did this. We're going to use a little bit of brake grease. This is just a brake lubricant. I always put a little bit of grease on the backside of these shims because this is where the piston is going to, there's 2 pistons for the fronts, and they're both going to hit right about in this section. So we'll just go ahead, put a thin layer of grease down. first caliper is now on, and seeing it with the yellow, there's no real good lighting in here right now, but especially from a distance, this looks just as good as the valve covers do, obviously being the same color, but definitely awesome in contrast with this yellow and red. Just looks like it was meant to be. If you remember and refer back to one of my videos, I did do an ABS delete on this car, which deleted the whole ABS box on that passenger side, and we converted over to using full stainless lines that were included in the kit for everything with our brakes that is related. So you can see some of these stainless lines, and there is a proportioning valve back there that goes from the master cylinder to both of the front wheels directly. And I just had this piece setting in here, waiting to route my brakes, so that's what this line is for. We're gonna go ahead, feed this all the way through, and we're gonna shoot down to where we need to have one piece. This is the fitting that we need that is going to thread into our spot where our hose is going to go to our brake. Just gonna be right back in here. Grab our line that we have coming up from here. We'll pull this all the way through, get this fed through, and this will reach directly down to the caliper right there. We'll feed it through our normal stock line slot right there. And that should complete this whole caliper assembly. We have the pads in, the brackets in, all that stuff. We have the stainless line routed from the ABS delete kit all the way to this. Time for the rear stainless brake lines. We'll go ahead and get these out of the package, and this should be pretty easy hooking these up from the caliper to the factory line. 4 lines in total. You get 2 shorter ones followed by 2 longer ones, and then you'll get some of these slotted fittings in there. Which leaves a gap from here to there, and this is where they are expecting you to use your little section of existing hardline that would come on your rear brakes. Unfortunately, I ended up throwing that piece away because I did not think that I needed it, because I thought that this rear brake line assembly would take us all the way from the existing hardline to the caliper, which would only make sense to me. I don't know why they would try to mock this out and do this in 3 pieces and not include everything in this kit. We can just go ahead and make it ourselves and fab up just a little section to put in there, which should also work. I'm not going to do it in this video. I will show you guys and give you guys an update once I do get this little section of brake line made up. The other thing I did do was, if we come up to the front, there should be some type of a grommet where this brake line comes down. I was able to find a grommet that I had, and I put one in on each side. It's not the most ideal thing in the world, but it at least does give a little bit of padding in that section. Last thing that we're going to do in this video is we're just going to ceramic coat these calipers that I put on. I want to keep them clean, I want to keep them nice and make sure that they last. So we got this ceramic coat kit. We'll just pop this out really quick. Wheels are now back on. These did get taken back in and they were balanced, so these should be all set and ready to go. That being said, we did quite a bit of stuff in this video. I think I have enough content to put out some pretty good stuff. We're gonna call this a wrap. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. It is turning out incredible. The suspension work, all the braking, all that stuff is almost all the way dialed in. A couple small things here and there, but stick around for the next video. Till then, like, comment, and subscribe.